For 25 years, Ananda was more than a disciple. He was the Buddha's shadow, his constant companion, and his most devoted attendant. He walked beside his beloved cousin, listening to every teaching, absorbing every word like the dry earth drinks the summer rain. His heart was a perfect vessel, holding the memory of countless discourses given under the Bodhi tree, in quiet bamboo groves, and bustling city squares. Ananda's love for the Buddha was immeasurable, a vast and gentle ocean of devotion. He served not out of duty, but from a place of profound connection, feeling that his own life was intrinsically woven into the fabric of his master's presence. He was the keeper of the teachings, the one who would remember everything for future generations. The day the Buddha announced his impending parinirvana, his final passing, a great shadow fell upon Ananda's world. The sun seemed to lose its warmth, and the gentle breeze carried a chill that pierced him to the bone. While the Buddha spoke of this departure as a natural conclusion, a release from the cycle of birth and death, Ananda could only feel the sharp sting of impending loss. His mind, which had so effortlessly memorized thousands of sutras, could not grasp a world without the Buddha's physical presence. The thought was a gaping void, a terrifying emptiness that threatened to consume him entirely. He wept openly, his tears a testament to the depth of his attachment and his unbearable sorrow. The others saw the Buddha's passing as a graduation, a testament to the truth of impermanence he had taught for so long. They prepared to celebrate his ultimate liberation. But for Ananda, it was not a concept. It was a deeply personal tragedy. He was not yet an arhat, one who had attained full enlightenment. His heart was still vulnerable, bound by the tender threads of human affection. He saw not a master achieving his final peace, but a beloved friend, a cherished family member, leaving him behind in a world that would suddenly feel desolate and silent. The teachings on letting go echoed in his ears, but his heart refused to listen, clinging desperately to the form that was about to dissolve. As the final moments drew near, the Buddha lay between two sal trees, his face serene and luminous. He looked upon his weeping cousin with infinite compassion. He reminded Ananda that all conditioned things must pass away, that even the physical form of a Buddha is subject to this universal law. He praised Ananda for his selfless service, for his kindness, and for the incredible power of his memory. Yet, these gentle words offered little solace. Ananda's grief was a powerful current, pulling him under. He felt as if he were losing his anchor, his guide, his very reason for being. The world was about to lose its greatest light, and Ananda was lost in the encroaching darkness. After the Buddha's body was cremated and his relics distributed, the community of monks gathered. For many of the enlightened disciples, the arhats, this was a time not of mourning but of profound acknowledgement. They saw the Buddha's final passing as the ultimate demonstration of his own teaching. He had shown them the path to liberation from suffering, and now he had walked it to its very end, entering the unconditioned, the deathless. They spoke of his wisdom, his boundless compassion, and the incredible gift of the Dharma he had left behind. Their hearts were filled with a quiet joy, a deep gratitude for the freedom he had made possible for all beings. It was a celebration of a life perfectly lived and a journey beautifully completed. But Ananda could not share in this serene acceptance. While his brothers spoke of liberation, he was drowning in a sea of personal sorrow. Every memory was a fresh wound, every remembered teaching a painful reminder of the voice he would never hear again. He saw the empty seat where the Buddha used to sit, the path they used to walk together, the tree under which they had sheltered from the rain. The entire world seemed to echo with a profound absence. His grief was not for a distant teacher, but for the loss of the most important person in his life. The celebration of the arhats felt alien to him, their peace a world away from the storm raging within his own heart. The elder monk Mahakashyapa, now the leader of the Sangha, observed Ananda's deep despair. He understood the cause of this suffering. Ananda had not yet cut the final fetters of attachment. His immense love, a source of great strength for so long, had now become the source of his greatest pain. To prepare for the first council, where all the Buddha's teachings would be recited and compiled. Only arhats were invited. Mahakashyapa, seeing Ananda's state, told him that he could not participate until he had overcome his grief and realized enlightenment for himself. These words, though spoken with wisdom, felt like another blow to Ananda, deepening his sense of failure and isolation. Ananda was now truly alone. He was excluded from the most important gathering in the history of the community he had served so faithfully. His brothers, whom he had lived with for decades, were moving forward into a new era, while he was left behind, trapped in the past, chained by his own sorrow. He felt unworthy, heartbroken, and utterly lost. The teachings he knew so well by mind seemed to have no power to heal his heart. He was the keeper of the map, yet he could not find his own way out of the wilderness of his grief. The path to freedom, once so clear when he walked beside the Buddha, was now completely obscured by his tears. With the council set to begin the next day, Ananda retreated to his small hut, determined to attain the awakening that had eluded him for so long. He sat down on his meditation cushion, closed his eyes, and began to practice with a desperate intensity he had never known before. He focused on his breath, he observed his body, he contemplated the teachings on impermanence and no self. He pushed his mind and body to their absolute limits, striving with every ounce of his being to break through the veil of his suffering. Hours passed, marked only by the shifting shadows of the moon outside his window. The night grew deeper, darker, and still, enlightenment did not come. His mind was a battlefield. One moment, he would feel a flicker of calm, a sense of clarity, but it would be instantly swept away by a tidal wave of grief. The face of the Buddha would appear in his mind's eye, smiling with compassion, and his heart would break all over again. He saw himself as a failure, the one disciple who had been so close to the light for so long, yet remained in the dark. He felt the immense pressure of expectation, the weight of his exclusion from the council, and the profound loneliness of his struggle. His effort became strained, his striving a form of violence against himself. The more he tried to force awakening, the further it seemed to slip away. As the night wore on, exhaustion began to settle deep into his bones. His body ached, his mind was raw with exertion, and his spirit was on the verge of collapse. He had tried everything he knew. He had walked, he had stood, he had sat, pouring all his energy into the practice. Yet, he was still Ananda, the sorrowful one. In this moment of utter depletion, something shifted. He realized the futility of his aggressive striving. All his effort, all his desperate grasping for enlightenment, was just another form of attachment, another form of wanting. It was the very same energy that bound him to his grief, simply redirected toward a spiritual goal. In that moment of profound weariness, just as the first hint of dawn was about to break the darkness, Ananda gave up. He let go of the struggle. He relinquished his desperate need to become an arhat, to join the council, to escape his pain. He decided simply to lie down and rest his tired body. It was not a gesture of defeat, but an act of complete surrender. He accepted his exhaustion. He accepted his sorrow. He accepted his perceived failure. He let go of everything. He stopped trying to reach for the goal and simply allowed himself to be exactly as he was in that very moment. As Ananda lay down, shifting from the upright posture of striving to the gentle repose of rest, a profound transformation quietly unfolded within him. In that small, almost unnoticed space between sitting and lying down, his mind, finally released from the relentless grip of effort, became utterly clear. In that instant of complete surrender, just as his head was about to touch the pillow, he saw it. He saw the nature of his suffering, the chain of attachment that had caused him so much pain. He saw the truth of no self, not as some idea to memorize, but as a living, breathing reality. The I that was grieving, the I that was striving, simply dissolved away. The light that dawned was not from the sun outside his window, but from deep within his own heart. It was a light of profound understanding, of liberation, The grief did not vanish, but it was no longer his. He saw it as just a feeling, a wave in the vast ocean of existence, but it did not define him any longer. The love he felt for the Buddha remained, but it was transformed, from a clinging attachment into a boundless, radiant compassion that extended to all beings. He was free. The chains had not been broken by force, they had simply fallen away the moment he stopped pulling on them. He was Ananda, but he was also no one, a clear space through which the universe could, breathe. At that very moment, a young monk named Adideva, who was on his way to fetch water, happened to pass by Ananda's hut. He possessed a measure of psychic ability and could often sense the spiritual state of others. As he drew near, he felt a powerful and luminous energy radiating from the small dwelling, an aura of peace so profound it stopped him in his tracks. It was a light he had only ever felt in the presence of the Buddha himself. He knew, with absolute certainty, that Ananda was no longer grieving. He knew that the beloved disciple had finally crossed the shore and reached the other side. Adideva rushed to the assembly hall where Mahakashyapa and the other arhats were preparing to begin the council. With a voice full of joy and reverence, he announced that Ananda had attained awakening. He described the radiant peace he had sensed, the unmistakable light of a liberated mind. There was no doubt in the assembly. They knew that Ananda, through his long night of sorrow, had found his way home. Mahakashyapa, his stern face softening into a smile, declared that Ananda could now join the council. He was no longer just the keeper of the words. He was now a living embodiment of their truth. Ananda's journey, teaches us a beautiful and profound lesson about the nature of our own hearts. His deep love for the Buddha, the very thing that caused him such immense pain, was also the fuel for his final awakening. The arrow of sorrow that pierced his heart so deeply was the very tool that opened it completely. It shows us that our deepest wounds, our most painful attachments, are not obstacles to be avoided or suppressed. Instead, they are sacred gateways. They are the entry points through which the light of understanding can finally pour in, illuminating the darkest corners of our being and setting us free from our suffering. We often believe that spiritual practice is about becoming strong, about building walls to protect ourselves from pain. But Ananda's story, honestly, shows us the opposite. His breakthrough did not come from more effort or more resistance. It came in a moment of complete surrender, of utter vulnerability. He did not conquer his grief. He allowed it to be. He let go of the fight, and in that spaciousness, freedom found him. This is a message of great hope for all of us. We do not need to be perfect. We do not need to eliminate our human feelings of love and loss. We only need to learn how to hold them with tenderness and awareness. The path to awakening is not a straight line away from our pain. It is a path that leads directly through it. Every moment of sadness, every heartbreak, every feeling of loss, contains a seed of liberation. When we can sit with our sorrow without judgment, when we can feel our attachments without being consumed by them, we are practicing in the deepest way. Just as Ananda lay down his head in exhaustion, we too can lay down our struggle. We can stop trying so hard to be someone else, somewhere else, and simply rest in the truth of what is happening right now in our own bodies and hearts. Therefore, let us not be afraid of our own arrows of sorrow. Let us welcome them as messengers. They come to show us where we are still bound, where our love is still clinging. Ananda's tears watered the seed of his enlightenment. In the same way, our own difficulties, embraced with courage and compassion, can become the very ground from which our own awakening will blossom. True freedom is not found in a life without pain, but in discovering the boundless peace that is always present, even in the very heart of our deepest sorrow. Through surrender, we find our strength. Through our vulnerability, we find our invincibility.